let's look at the factors that actually rank a website. Contrary to popular belief, Google's algorithm is not actually a single algorithm, but a collection of a bunch of smaller algorithms that all work in tandem to give users the best experience. And they can do some pretty cool things. Things like correct spelling mistakes. Most people nowadays will actually just type a word into Google and see if it gets corrected to know if they're spelling it correctly. It's sort of like a spell check. It also can be used for disambiguation. That is to say that if you're looking at Mustangs, it actually can use context to determine whether you're talking about the car or a horse. It also can use geolocation. So if you're searching for a coffee shop, it may look at the fact that you're in this location and it's going to tell you about coffee shops that are there as opposed to in another city, which isn't really relevant to you unless you're traveling and you specify that. And then also using context, it can actually give you specialized results. So for example, if you say search for Barcelona versus Arsenal, it's going to understand that you mean the Barcelona soccer club versus just the city in general, where it might give you information about bars and coffee shops and things like that. So some of the major factors that have been found to actually impact ranking your site are the number of links. That is the big one that it all started with. When Google started, they started with something called random surfer algorithm that eventually became RankBrain. What this does is it looks at the interconnected web of all the links of sites, and then what they do is they give each other what was called link juice at one point, which is as I link to you, I'm giving you a little bit of my authority. And when you link to someone else, you're giving them a little bit of your authority. And then branching off like that, you had certain sites that had a lot of authority, sites like Wikipedia, Yelp, things like that. So if you can get a link from them, it has a lot more impact than some neighborhood blog. Now, that being said, as you add it all together, these links can build a very powerful network that can help rank your site. There's also keyword placement. Because you're usually ranking for a particular search term or a few select search terms, you're going to have certain keywords that you are trying to rank for. So having these in particular placements, your H1 tags, your title, in the top, what's called above the fold, things like that are all going to impact how your site ranks. Another factor is depth of content. This determines your quality. What we call thin content is usually like there's not a lot of material there. It's usually a little bit of writing and it's kind of flimsy. So having more depth or more written content, more images, more video, things like that, this depth can actually show that it is a higher quality site according to the algorithm. Then there's also speed and page load times. This is a big factor because remember, Google is focused on what the users want, and users are pretty impatient, so if your site takes too long to load, that's going to be held against you. And then finally, having optimization to be set up for mobile sites is also a big one. Many users now search on their phone, and you need to be optimized for that particular search. All of these things work together, so no one of these factors is going to be the only thing that determines how you rank. And remember, Google is always trying to make it the best experience for their users. So what you want to do is you want to try to figure out how to place yourself to make Google think that you are that. And it can be gamed because the main thing to take away from this is that Google's algorithms are algorithms. These are not people sitting there determining how your site looks. These are not people determining how much depth it has. These are algorithms to determine quality. And there are ways that you can set your site up to optimize for those algorithms. And that's where our expertise comes in to help, is determining what works and what doesn't through basically trial and error and expertise in the field.